Yep. Hey everyone, this is Delta Penguin from PengTech, name pending, and let's see. Today we're talking about what is HTML, and you can go in a fair amount of depth with it, but for me, I'm just going to give you the basic rundown of what it is. HTML is short for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's a way to describe websites. The content and the data, the data, the content, and like where everything should be positioned on the website. And so all websites will typically use HTML mixed with JavaScript, where the JavaScript is the code side of it. There might be others, but that's the large majority of websites are related to that. So let's take a look at the screen. So I'll try to give you some examples here. When you're creating HTML, usually there's some tag that starts on the top of it. I forget exactly how it's worded, so I'm just going to look it up here. And with a lot of coding, this is what you'll do. You'll do a lot of just searching online to find the answer. HTML example page. But a tag is, well, it'll be easier once you see it. Of W3 Schools. Again, this is a great site for practicing. You can maybe even practice here. Maybe that'll be easier. Let's see. Give me an example. Where's the example? Okay. Sure. Whoops. Okay. Okay. In this case, the front tag, just give you some information, is just this. So it's just some keywords that you just got to put at the top of your document, just so that it can understand what it's doing. And so I was going to originally put it up in Visual Studio. So if you were creating your own files, you could new file, say, okay, test website.html. And so .html tells the program, okay, this is it tells the computer that it's an HTML file, so that it knows how to read the data. Okay, so I'll just stick that on top. I mean, I could even just copy everything here. Control A, select everything. But yeah, once you have the type and then Visual Studio Code, as long as it knows the programming language, that's how it knows how to color everything. But here's an example of HTML. So let me see if I save it, and I'm just going to save exactly what they have here. So here's W3 Schools is nice because you can test it here. You can do, okay, this text is normal. We'll change this. This text is abnormal, and here's the result, right? So we got to run it now. Run. Oh, you see that? It changed. So it made the update after we ran it. And to prove it, let's see. We have, where's that file I just created? Test website. Oh, here it is. Test website.html. So if I double click that, okay, choose which web browser you want to open in. Okay, I'll just say, sure, we'll try Brave for now. So this text is normal, this text is important. And that's exactly what we got here, minus the change we just added. But so HTML is what sites will send, the files that the sites will send us back when we go to places like Google or like YouTube or Amazon or stuff like that. When we go there, behind the scenes, what's actually happening is it sends us back the HTML web page as well as JavaScript files in order to run some of the more programming code related stuff. So that's what's happening behind the scenes. So for us to be able to create a website, we need to be able to figure out what is HTML and how do we create it so that we can generate our websites, right? Okay, so this is proof. If I open it up in an actual web browser, I get that same content here. Cool. So let me just exit out of that for now. So what is HTML? It's basically this kind of way of formatting things, formatting the text. Because again, it's like a website has, website has a bunch of different elements, right? You can see Okay, this is the YouTube logo, and you're accustomed to, if you click it, it'll go back to the main page. So the code side is what handles, like, hey, if you click it, it'll go back. Well, I guess technically that's the A tag reference, but there's probably programming logic that helped create some of this. But okay, programming logic would help create which video is loaded here. So the HTML side would be more like, okay, put this toolbar and have all these options, right? And then it could be hard-coded. Okay, where does it go? Create this search bar, create this sign-in, create this button, settings button, create a video here of some kind. But then the code itself would be like, oh, hey, when you're running this website, here's the ID of the website. So call some API, so call some other URL or some other website name or URL, basically just this thing here. Call this, and then it'll give you some JSON data back, which will have the video information. And then the code will run that, and then when it gets the data, it'll come back and put the video here so that you can view it and you can watch it. But between all the videos, this format is pretty much the same, right? The structure is the same. A video here, if they have chapters, then put it here. Recommendations and videos here. Description, advertisements, comments. The ability to add comments or see more comments. So if you click this, then it was loading some more data, which means it sent another request to a different URL. Said, hey, like the comment, the user wants this comment, go and get it. And so it talks to another server or another computer, or which probably has a SQL database that contains the data. It'll think about it, get the data, send it back to us, and then it'll fill it out here for us and update the website. Okay, but you can see the structure. It's just like a really fancy, in some ways I guess it's like a really fancy container, and just that shows you the data and presents it a certain way. So that's what HTML is, and CSS is something that helps you style that also. And we'll kind of go over some of that later. Whoops. But that's the gist of it. So this is very basic, but this is kind of the start. And so how does HTML work? You can see, aside from this top tag, which is isolated and separate, so you kind of just put it there and then you ignore it. So look at the rest of the stuff. What do we have here? We have what HTML calls tags. So a tag is these things in pointy brackets, angled brackets, I think they call it, right? So you'll have two tags typically. It'll be the main tag and then the closing tag. And then on occasion you can have some self-closing tags, which if you have that, it could be something like, I don't know, new tag, some information, and then if you see that / here, then this is a self-closing tag. So all this is one tag, and you don't need the ending closing tag. If you didn't have that, then you would have there, and then you could have some data. Oops. Some extra information. And then you'd have the closing tag after with the same name, / same name. Maybe more like, key equals ABC. All right. And so what is the purpose of this? Because what's happening with the actual thing that's being output is just a couple lines of text, right? Well, why do we need all this extra stuff? Well, this extra stuff is a way of, again, a way of describing the content. Okay, because we have all these, you have a starting tag and a closing tag, right? Then something, because you structure the data this way, the text, if you do it this way, then some other code can look at it, or the browser can look at it, and then gain extra information from the structure. For example, you can tell, like, even though there's two lines of text, this one's a bit different, right? This is bolded text. So even though these two words are the same, they look different because this one's highlighted in a certain way. But how did the browser know that this one should be highlighted? And that's what HTML is trying to solve. It knew that because in this case, it's wrapped in this strong tag. So strong. So this is what tells it, hey, this text should look different. Okay, so let's try running it. This text. Yep. Oh, and there's the extra info that I added there. Okay, and I'll just separate it so it's a little easier to see. Did that change anything? Nope. All right. And so all this fancy stuff you see when you go to like a YouTube video here, like, oh, this one looks like this text is bolded, right? So this must be wrapped in kind of a similar tag like strong, and that's how they got it to look that way. Whoops. That's how they got it to look that way. You can see this is the bolded also, and that one has a nice little timestamp, but has a little blue background on it. That's kind of cool looking, right? It makes it so that the page looks prettier, and it's easier to tell, like it's easier for our eyes to see the different information. Looks like the years, the timestamp, and the views is bolded, and the rest is just regular text. So that's kind of a simple example of, actually, let's see, is there any colored text? I guess there's the little bit of blue up there, and the numbers are also a little bit blue. But HTML and the CSS also includes things like, see my mouse here, little yellow circle. When I move into this area, you can see that the background changes and also the blue color changes. So this helps you helps you visualize what's happening better, and also helps you visualize it better, helps you know like that it's interactable, like you can click it, something happens. Like the mouse also changes. I guess I don't know if you can see my mouse right now, but right now it's a pointer, and if I go into it, then it becomes a little hand symbol. So that's also trying to like give the user clues and hints that, hey, this is something special. Look here, this is, you're doing something special can happen here. And that's just to make it as easy and friendly as possible. Kind of like our talk about like interfaces or like the electrical light switch, right? If you can make the code like a black box and make it user friendly, or make it apparent and make it self-obvious to the user what's happening or what kind of things you can do, then you don't have to have like an instruction manual or someone telling you what to do. You can sort of figure it out because of all this feedback. So this UI change, like the change of the background and stuff, that's like a positive feedback for the user. It's something changing so that you can, so it kind of helps highlight it in your brain and your mind. Okay. I mean, as another example, what if I wanted to make this look even better? I can do different things. Like P is a paragraph tag, so that kind of makes it so that there's spaces between the two texts. Like if I didn't have this paragraph, this would probably make it so that this text goes up to where the abnormal one is. Let's see. So I get rid of the tags, the closing and the starting tag. Okay. Oh, and so okay, got rid of the space here. So even though we have space in the editor, in the actual output, it got rid of the new line, the line break. And so here the white space doesn't matter. So if I did something like this, it's not actually the computer ignores it. It's mainly looking at the tags to see, okay, well, let's look at, it's kind of like code in a sense, right? It looks at this tag and it looks at everything in between the HTML tag. And this is to say, this is the whole HTML document. So everything inside this is the document. This is just some container so people know. Everything inside the body is this here. Everything inside this first paragraph tag is just this text here, right? So basically saying everything contained inside of it, all my content or all my children inside of this container, do something with it. Similar to the strong tag where, hey, everything, all my content or children inside the strong container, this container that's named or tagged, HTML calls them tags. So everything that's tagged is this, should be strong or should be bold, basically. And then the code looks at the next line, ignores the white space. So it's like, okay, everything inside this tag called new tag, do something with it. In this case, it just spits it out because it doesn't know what new tag is. It just kind of like, okay, well, I'll just spit it out as text since I use text. All right. So other tags. So part of the things you need to do is with HTML, you figure out, hey, what are the pre-existing relevant tags that do something? Like if I do the keyword or if I do the tag I, what's going to happen? Let's try running it. Oh, the text changed a little bit. So now it's still bolded, but this is italics. I added italic by wrapping it in these tags. How about if I extend the closing tag to all the way to the new tag? What if I did that? So if I run that, then okay, so this part's still bolded, this part's italic now, but this part isn't bolded because this part isn't contained in the strong tag. Yeah. And so now I'm applying two different things. I'm applying the I tag to everything inside of it, all of its content, children, right? But then the bold only gets applied to whatever is inside the strong tag. All right. And so that's very interesting because you can layer effects. And again, HTML describes not just gives you the content, but then describes how it should look or how it should be formatted. Let's see, some other things you could do. How about, let's see if I remember some classic. How about style? Color red. Let's see, this may or may not work. Oh, it worked. Color red. So something like this is like, here's a special, inside the tags, you have something called attributes. And so these tags can also be seen kind of like as objects in a sense. This is objects, this is the container or children, and here's some other key value pairs kind of thing, like the key and then the value. And this means if you use this, then it uses, I believe this is a CSS style sheet, and you can give it certain properties like color red. It's like, okay, now this is this, and you can even try, you can kind of play around with it. Color, what do you think? Green? Is that one? That's a pretty common color, so let's see. Yep, okay, it recognizes that. Keyword, how about, oops, come on, buddy. Okay, how about orange? Orange, do you got that? Oh yeah, orange. And it's pretty clear that it's different than red also. That's good. What else can we do? I think there should be something background color. Let's see if that'll do it. Okay, yeah, so now the text goes back to black because that's the default. Now the background is orange. And let's say if I did something that was incorrect, like background colors. Okay, if it doesn't recognize it, it just ignores it. So, okay, so that was the wrong keyword. So, how about this key value, and inside this value is basically, again, it's like, oh, this is also a key, and this is also a value. Similar to if you look at this, it looks very similar to JSON, right? Let's take a look at that. JSON example. Bring it back to memory. Yeah. It's very similar, except for maybe the key isn't wrapped in quotes. But we've seen that before, so it's just using this very similar kind of thing. All right, cool. So, okay, wait, background color orange. Okay, how about, let's see, background color green. All right, how about light green? Is that one? Light green? Light green? Yeah, so light green is also an option. And they have other ones like, I don't know, like smoke or smoky white, or you can, if you wanted to, you can look it up. These are standard, you should be using standard Windows colors. So if you did something like Windows colors, or maybe standard Windows colors. List standard, or list or show standard Windows colors. Default colors? Maybe this guy? I want somewhere where it shows me the names and then a nice place where it shows me the names and, you know, like a preview of the color. I'm sure it exists here somewhere. Colors class. Microsoft. Nope. Here we go. So you can see, okay, good. You can see like slate gray, misty rose, and then you can also use the whatever this value is to determine the color also, and you can create your own. But some of the default colors that Windows have defined, like pink, Peru, plum. All right. Seashell. Okay, so you can do stuff like, okay, that, or going back to green, it looked a little bit, you know, it's a little too dark if I did just this with the text right there, right? So let's see if I can add multiple properties. I think it's maybe comma. Let's say go back to color. How about white? Because to see it well, you need a contrast. So a dark color on a white background, or vice versa. Okay, that didn't work. How about this? Oh, there we go. So it looks like they let semicolon between the two. All right, so now it's like a white colored text and the dark green background. Now you can read it. All right, that's a gist of some of how the tags work and how it's used. I mean, aside from that, an easy way. What paragraph does is it gives you a line break between, because even if I remove that here, okay, so in the code it's removed, but here it remains because the paragraph is what's giving you the line break at the end. If you want a manual line break, you can use the break tag, so BR, and then it's self-contained, so let's just close it. So if I did that, okay, so now it's this text, this text should look different. And then a new line here because now I have the break tag. But if I want it to actually have a space in between it, I'll give it another break tag. Okay, there you go. If you want more, you just add more. So that's some of the gist and the starter tags, the common tags that you would use. And this is the gist of how HTML works. Which is like the foundation of I'd say like all websites should be built in HTML. So, yeah, at the lowest level. All right, I'll start with that. Well,